Hey everybody, I'm Kevin.
I'm Kayla.
We love movies.
And talking about them.
This is the Martini Window. With us today, we have costumer, fashion stylist with such credits as Riverdale, Surface, and the upcoming Jesse L. Martin series, The Irrational. Joining us today, we have Victoria Stephenson. Victoria, nice to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, tell us a little about yourself.
About me, from Vancouver, I have worked in I started off in the fashion realm and then moved into film 4-ish years ago. Worked with clothes kind of my whole life.
Right.
My passion, So, yeah, anything clothing related, anything film related, it's kind of my thing.
That's fantastic. Now, the movie you want to talk about today was the 1996 cult classic, The Big Lebowski from the Coen Brothers. I'm actually a personal huge fan of this movie. I've watched it more times than I can count. I was so happy to watch it again because there's elements about this movie that I tend to catch that I never catch the time before. And to this day, I watched it again for God knows how many times with Kayla to prep this. And once again, piece after piece, I'm just like, how did I never see this the previous X amount of times I've seen this movie?
That's one of my favorite things about it. It's every time you watch it, no matter how many times you watch it, the writing is so good that there's always something that you haven't seen before that comes up.
Every single time.
Every time.
Yeah.
I probably watched it 15th time yesterday. Still, it's just little things no matter how small, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
something you mentioned to me, Kevin, is when I first watched and this happened to me, when I first watched this movie, I didn't think it was funny because the way I was introduced to it is this is the funniest movie you will ever see. And then I watched it for a second time and it was the funniest movie I'd ever seen. It just wasn't on the first watch because I didn't understand what I was watching yet.
And that really is the aspect of this movie that I find a lot of people don't cling on to. And I agree. This is one of the funniest movies you'll ever see the second time you watch it.
Yes.
The first time you watch it, I did not care for it either. The first time around, I was trying to figure out what the jokes were. And when you kind of see it a second time, you start noticing all the small bits, all the not in your face humor, all the aspects like that. And then to realize too, that the joke of this whole story is that you're basically watching a remake of The Big Sleep, but having this rando kind of just walk his way through the plot.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the thing. It's it's funny, but it's not necessarily all slapstick humor funny. It's funny in irony.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of little pieces, you'll catch little like references to noir film and stuff in it that you wouldn't necessarily get at the very beginning if you're just watching it for it to be funny, like Will Ferrell funny or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, you kind of.
I mean, that's never. Yeah, and I mean, Will Ferrell's style has never really been the Coen Brothers jam.
No,
either.
Not at all.
Not to
totally see how that's yes, people always describe it as the funniest thing ever, and it's it's very funny, but I wouldn't say it's in that. I don't know, it's slapstick, I guess. Yeah, and it's not necessarily in that scene. And I think a connotation comes to mind when someone says the funniest thing you've ever seen. People told me this about Borat, and then I saw Borat, and I was very confused.
Okay, so the funny thing about Borat is when I first saw that movie in theaters, I will not lie, seeing that in theaters was one of the funniest in-theater experiences I've ever seen. Now, let's also remember the fact that I was still a 13-year-old boy who stuck into it at the time, and I have not found the movie to be very rewatchable as time goes on with Borat. And I love Sacha Baron Cohen. I'm a big Sacha Baron Cohen fan. I thought Who is America was outstanding. And Borat as a movie is a great movie, but it doesn't have that rewatch value that movie like Big Lebowski does. And I think part of the reason why is exactly that. The jokes are not coming at you rapid fire. So we're watching this movie the 10th, 12th, 15th time. We're still finding layered humor underneath it all.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's the point where he goes up to Jeff Lebowski, the dude, and he says, "This aggression just will not stand, man." Does that a little bit. And what I love is that it took me a while to realize that that's in context to something in one of the first few scenes in the whole movie. You see President George Bush on TV during the Iraq War or the Gulf War at that time. And it kind of it starts showing you just even this guy who's a pacifist in the middle of this huge point of aggression, and his best friend's a freaking Vietnam vet during the Gulf War.
Yes.
And, to see this guy who's so pacifist, and you still notice environmentally, he's still echoing the same things that they were telling everybody else. He just chooses to see a different viewpoint. This is so I didn't even think about until last night.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's the whole thing, which I guess is why it's remained such a cult classic.
Yeah. I mean, it did not do well in theaters, though.
No. I was looking last night. Yeah, the box office revenue is not
Coen Brothers are weird like that. They have a few movies like that.
But yeah. Because there was another one that, I don't know, this might be butchered. It wasn't True Grit. Something was like that too. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
It was like another one that just like didn't do well at the beginning, but now everyone freaks out.
Early Coen Brothers movies have a tendency, I find, to grow their fan base over time. Their first feature they did together was a fantastic thriller called A Blood Simple with Frances McDormand. Love that movie to no end. But now as the movies go on, you start seeing them shoot their comedic sense. I mean, Big Lebowski, I will say again, one of the funniest movies in my opinion after however many watches. But if you want to see the other side of that coin, just watch Raising Arizona by Coen Brothers, where you're basically watching a Looney Tunes cartoon starring Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, with it on. Yeah, for a lot.
That one's hilarious. You know, that one, and that is that sort of slapstick, more in your face humor, but through a Coen Brothers lens. Like there's a scene in that movie where Nicolas Cage is trying to steal a baby. And it's like one of the 6 babies in this room. And so, but as it tries to pick up one baby, another one crawls up his arm and drops off the bed. So now he has to pick that one up while another one's got out of the crib. And all of a sudden he's juggling 6 babies, trying to get back to the crib while the parents are downstairs, not knowing they just opened the house. And it's like, I think that's the sort of comedy people would more so expect when they're hearing that. When they hear, we don't want the funniest movies ever made. What they don't expect it to be is that there's a whole joke in the matter that the way you get introduced to the dude is by him writing a check for 68 cents. It's like, that's kind of in your face and not at the same time, right? Yeah. No, I absolutely love that aspect of that movie. The Coen Brothers have always lived and died by their dialogue and their characters, and it never ceases to amaze me to rewatch those old movies by them and see just how ahead of their own game they were. Because, you know, the movies they had out this time, Big Lebowski, Raising Arizona, Hudsucker Prophecy, Blood Simple, I think Fargo was probably their biggest movie in that era. And that was an undisputed hit. It was a hit in theaters otherwise, but Big Lebowski also came out around the same time as the other one with Woody Harrelson, Kingpin, if you ever remember that movie. The very similar bowling movie about taking Amish guys. That was a case of a twin film situation. Yeah. And I actually like Kingpin, but it's an interesting aspect of like a twin film scenario that kind of came out around this time. And I have to wonder sometimes, like, it had the immediate success, but there's an actual legal religion based off the Big Lebowski now. So who really won out on the legacy?
What I love about the Big Lebowski is that it's entirely character driven.
Oh yeah.
I love, like, as a writer, I love really interesting 3-dimensional characters. Honestly, it's probably already out there because, you know, like the internet exists. But if I was going to make a drinking game with this, it would just be every time John Goodman brings up Vietnam.
Oh my god!
You want to die of alcohol poisoning?
Literally. I'm so proud of how ways he is able to bring out Dom.
I don't know things about Vietnam, Walter. Like, damn, man.
That literally kills me. It's so good.
If it was made today, there would be a woman in Counterbeat saying, "I'm sorry, sir, this is a Wendy's."
Yeah, literally.
Well, they kind of do. He's inside the diner.
He's in the diner.
You have to keep it down or not be so vulgar. You leave. Fuck that. I'm just keeping my coffee. I'm drinking my coffee. No. Well, you matter right there is basically, sir, this is a Wendy's.
And it's like, I didn't lose my brothers. Like, literally, and it's just like a bunch of old people in this diner, like, trying to have their midday coffee.
And what I love about this too is like he truly feels, you can tell what he's saying, that he truly feels he's speaking for everybody. You know what I mean? Like,
like he is like
he thinks everyone in this room is behind me. You know what I mean? Like you could tell that John Goodman has such small ways of showing these sort of emotions. I love John Goodman.
His behavior is very like, "Sir, I am an American hero."
That is exactly his mentality in this movie.
Yes. How dare you not treat me like royalty?
Yes.
I love John Goodman, and I love the way the Coen Brothers have always written and directed his characters. One movie I love in particular is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, which came out in 2000. So that's also Coen Brothers, same guys that did Big Lebowski. And John Goodman has this role in there. He's only in 2 scenes, I think, 2 or 3 scenes in the movie, called Big John is his name. He goes by John, and he goes, "My name's John, Big John, as everyone calls me. I can help you out right here, and blah, blah, blah. I heard you got some money. Well, I can show you a thing called Salvation of the Lord." And so he takes the prisoners to the street for a picnic for trying to steal their $100 they just got for this recording they did. And it's just this moment where he's there for 2 scenes, and the impact he has in this movie is crazy. And the Coen Brothers just know how to do this with John Goodman. And like, he's in this show I love called The Righteous Gemstones on HBO. He's fantastic, and I highly recommend anybody listen. It's fantastic. The season 3 just started. Excellent so far.
My rain is not.
But with John Goodman, though, what I've always found is that people have a tendency to try to write him into these very stoic, very kind of like more like kind of like undertoned. But the Coen brothers have never been afraid to have John Goodman be Gonzo and have him be big. And so you see him in this movie, you see him in Raising Arizona, you see him in Oh Brother Where Art Thou, and they're seeing the Fred Flintstone that we all saw that got him into that movie. You're like, well, how can we use this for other genres? And it comes so well in this movie too, where these rants about Vietnam, it happens like 5-6 times in the movie, and it never stops being funny. It's just this guy knows how to sell it.
Exactly. And the stuff with Donnie. Shut the fuck up, Donnie. Shut the fuck up,
Donnie.
It's like he's saying when he's actually asking about boy, and then they're like, "Shut the fuck." Oh, what day is it? Like it's so good.
Was it? Don't worry, Donnie. You'll be fine. Are those Nazis? No, they're not Nazis. They're nihilists. So leave you alone.
It's so
and it's so unfortunate because nothing happens to him except he does get the heart attack.
I know, and then he dies. And he dies. Like then when they throw the ashes. And it goes back in their face.
And the eulogy is about Vietnam.
Like you put about it's so good. It's so good. Like it's such a parody just on like life, you know? My favorite scene is Julianne Moore's entrance.
Oh my! I love Big Lebowski of this.
She's so good. And the scene, this one will never fail to make me laugh. Where he's getting like the dude he's finally getting into that kind of like detective mode, right? And he's at what's his name's house? The porn.
Jackie Treehorn.
Yes, he's at Jackie Treehorn's house, and Jackie Treehorn takes the call and goes in the bedroom and writes on the pad, and then the dude gets up and shaves on the pad, and it's like a stick figure
with a big dick, and it's like
oh, what? And this shit is so good. It's like the pieces just like art pieces for him. Like it's just not like it's so good.
It's like somebody who's trying to behave like they're in a detective noir, but nothing's working.
Exactly. Which is, I guess, where the irony is from, like, kind of what the plot was based on. It's just like he's trying to detective, but like,
irony is all over the movie, though.
That makes sense. Stupidity, basically.
But like the irony at the end of the movie, I think it's absolutely hilarious that the Big Lebowski who was trying to play him the old time is now essentially going to have a grandkid and be tied to him forever with the bum DNA that he hates. Because his daughter is pregnant with his kid. He will never get rid of this Lebowski because he's already like infiltrated his life on such a deep level in a way he doesn't realize.
Yes. No, that's it's.
So what you're saying is the bums, in fact, did not lose.
No.
Pretty much, yeah.
Remember he says that to him, the bum was lost, Lebowski. Your time is up. Doing that a little bit. Oh my God! I had another actor, by the way. He's done a few things with the Coen Brothers, and they just knew how to write him. He's the Republican mayor going for re-election in Oh Brother Where Art Thou as well.
Oh, yeah, I seen that one. And then when John Goodman's character pulls him out of his chair, and you just hear the head out of it. I know that's
But he kind of deserves it because he's such an a-hole.
Yeah,
He's such an a-hole.
He's a condescending a-hole. The dude's not hurting anyone.
The dude abides, man.
Yeah, the dude abides.
And it's just this guy's constantly just getting more and more shit throughout this movie. Like his house is just getting progressively more trash as it goes on.
The scene, this is another one that kills me every time. Where like it just shows how freaking incompetent the dude is. Okay, like he's like nailing down the board in front of his door so that they can't get in, or because he does it the wrong way.
It's not just that. Did you see how he nailed the board? He put the worst nails on ever.
And it's like literally he like thinks it's like he like puts the chair up. It's like, oh, okay, this will work. And then someone walks in and the door just opens the other way. Oh my God.
I love stories about gross incompetence in a high-stress, high-stakes situation.
Yes, like
it's like a divine comedy of just, like, it's how hilarious humans are.
Yes.
Because no matter how good we get at something, I guarantee we've all done something really stupid we're like.
Oh,
yeah. In reality, too, this time around, I was thinking about it, and I always thought, well, if he didn't have Walter, he probably would have been totally fine throughout this whole situation. Yes. But then, the more I think about it, he was being set up by Jeff Lebowski in the first place. Yes. If he didn't have Walter's constant annoying intervention in this movie, he'd probably be dead.
Or in jail.
Dead or in jail, yeah. or, Justice Johnson.
It's what's so funny. It's like their whole like stupidness and incompetence is like kind of what protects them throughout the whole.
Yeah. There's a show that lasted 3 seasons. It was a reboot of the show DuckTales. And I am a 31-year-old man who loves this animated series. So we binged DuckTales or Court. So there's a line in the series finale though. Scrooge McDuck's arch nemesis, Guy Glumgold, always making these stupid plans to try to beat Scrooge McDuck, blah blah blah. But there's a scene where there's these attacking forces coming, try to take over, and they decide to go with Glumgold's plan. And I think this one quote in the show really speaks a lot about Big Lebowski. He says, they said, "Oh, well, we're beating all of our plans." He goes, "Well, I've got a plan. All right, well, we'll try all the smart ones. I guess we may as well try one of the bad ones." And at the end, he says, "Oh, you were prepared for our brightest, but you weren't prepared for our dumbest." Because you can't predict these people.
Yes.
You can't predict that.
It's like beginner's luck in gambling because people don't know what they're doing, so they're a wild card.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's absolutely true. And, one thing I want to say...
Gold has more sharks than gambling does, but...
One thing I want to say, though, is like with Big Lebowski, I talked about earlier how you're effectively looking at a remake of The Big Sleep in a lot of ways. Not fully. It's not a 1-to-1, but it's definitely even right there in the name. The reference is there. But, the Coen Brothers have a tendency to do this. They did this, again, with the movie I've mentioned a few times now, Brother Art Thou, which is, in that case, it was an adaptation of the Homer's Odyssey set in Dust Bowl era America with 3 ex-cons. In this case, we're seeing what happens when you try to take the down on his luck sentiment of a dude that you would see in a noir movie. But what happens if you set that in 1990s Gulf War era LA? And I love that because what you're getting when you get characters like Walter and the Dude, there are these archetypes of characters that exist in other movies. Maybe not so much to the level of the Dude. The Dude in any movie in the 1950s would have been some sort of criminal who doesn't care, right? In this movie, it's just a pacifist.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating to me to see how the way the plot develops, the way one thing leads to another, whether it acts on another, it's all right there in the bones of film noir. All of it, right down to Maud Lebowski. She in any other movie, she would have been a femme fatale, but in this case, she was stoking him out for his genetics.
I love something you actually pointed out to me in regards to her character is that she's such a feminist. The reason she wants to sleep with him is she'd never have to change the name of the child because it's the same last name.
That's another thought. There'll never be an argument because there'll never be an argument in the mid-90s about the kid's last name.
I never thought. See?
Yeah.
Different other things. Yeah, it's hilarious on a level. That's so true.
I love her commitment to sticking it to her father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially when you find out that she's the one basically like funding her dad. Like her dad wasn't the Big Lebowski, wasn't even the Big Lebowski. It turned out she was the one running things the whole time.
Exactly.
And I love how that's not this like big reveal or this big. She just kind of slips it into the conversation. It's just like, oh shit, so that guy doesn't have anything. Okay, and it's not made into this. Oh my God, this changes everything. It's just like, yeah, my dad just, I give my dad an allowance. He gives his wife an allowance.
Yeah. It's kind of, again, with irony, it's kind of ironic that the rich guy is essentially a mooch. In fact, he's more of a mooch than the dude. Yeah. He's more of a mooch than the dude. Yeah.
He kind of is. I mean, all the dude wanted was a rug that he rightfully should have gotten. I mean, even though there might be something to be said that every time somebody pisses on a rug, it's not exactly Jeff Lebowski's. I just love that whole justification. So you're going to tell me that every time someone pees on a rug in this entire city, I'm the one who has to flip the bill? That's like, I just love the straw man argument that comes out of that.
Yeah. That's so good. So good. It feels like every character is kind of a comedy of errors. Yes. Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Different ways. Everyone's incompetent in some way, even if they're a great hitman there.
Yeah. I mean, except Donnie. Donnie doesn't really have a lot of competence. He just doesn't shut the fuck up.
Yes. Donnie is like today's description of an airhead. Just like no idea.
Which is another great movie to see.
Yeah. I haven't seen that either. Wow. I sound like not a good movie person.
It's all good. Yeah. Him
Great movie person. You sound like he's been working on them.
Well, that's true. Actually, yes, that's very true.
Yeah, to give you an idea of Airheads, of what era of movies this came out, it starred Adam Sandler, Steve Buscemi, and Brendan Fraser as a rock band, and Brendan Fraser was the star power. To give you an idea of when this was.
Okay, I've definitely seen stuff.
Yeah.
I know what I just happened.
Very fun movie. Highly recommend. Came out around the same time, I think, actually, as this.
Oh, Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, what I really do like in particular is a heavy structure to this film. Like you frame the narrator, Sam Elliott, who I have come to the conclusion has always been 70 years old. He looks the exact same in this movie from almost 30 years ago like he does now. And
Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, like Patrick Stewart. I swear, Sam Elliott was born with a white mustache. But what I guess it was like his role as a narrator in this is pretty fascinating to me because you're never really certain if he's a part of the dude's thought process, if he's actually the narrator coming in. I've always read this one theory online that he's the narrator who's feeling the need to get the story moving forward, which is why he intervenes at one point with Lebowski inside the bowling alley, because otherwise we don't have any real context to Sam Elliott's character. Which is why it seems to me like I've always taken it as the Coen Brothers actually utilizing the third-person narrator as an actual factor into the story.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I always saw it, but a lot of people have assumed that it's, Lebowski having kind of a voice in his head, conscience of sorts. But I don't know, that's what I've always kind of heard about. I mean, what's your kind of thoughts on that with Sam Elliott?
I don't know. Honestly, it's not a part that I don't know why. It's not a part that I've thought about overly. I was always in, I don't know, I guess I kind of always thought it was the cowboy.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just thought guy at the end. I was like,
he also speaks like a cowboy
because that's how.
Well, it's just Sam Elliott.
There's obviously more to it than that.
Yeah.
I always was just like, yeah, that's who it is. But there's there would be a deeper meaning. Obviously, like why is he?
Like sometimes the wall's just blue, but it's a random ass cowboy who knows everything about it.
Exactly. Like it's like some why. Yeah. There's a lot to be thought. That's kind of one part of it that I've never really been able to say.
And I guess that's kind of the beauty of it, because the way it's written, it's understated enough that he could just be a random cowboy at the bowling alley.
That's the thing.
He doesn't have to hit you on the head to be like, this is the narrator.
Exactly. Like it's so kind of open that's, to be aired. I don't know. Like there's so much random stuff happen. Like random, but not random in the sense that, I'm like, it could just be nothing more than the cow. You know what
I mean? It's not like the Coen Brothers haven't gone that direction before. Right? Yeah. Like it's not like they haven't decided in the past, hey, let's just go fully interpretive here.
Yeah.
And then they have. They absolutely have. And I think we talked about True Blood or not True Blood, sorry, True Grit. We talked about True Grit earlier.
Very different.
Very different movie.
One lot of movie.
Also correct. But with True Grit, there was a similar situation where you had Buddy on the horse wearing the bear skin over him. He just randomly shows up at one point, kind of like he shows up, I think, twice, and you never find out who he is. But he just kind of shows up twice at these moments of despair for Matty Ross, and I find that kind of fascinating because it's sort of a similar writing tool and narrative tools we're seeing with the cowboy. I find, except the cowboy's obviously a lot more direct, genre, what have you. But I feel the actual place in the narrative structure that fits is very similar to what we see there. I mean, those two movies are like 20 years apart, same directors, 20 years apart. I find it's very interesting to see the similarities that you can find, like these narrative threads that kind of are still so similar. Because we were talking earlier about how this movie is kind of like your layman person just stumbling his way through a bigger plot. And I think while that is accurate, I think what it also does, though, is it shows kind of how these normal people would react. Like I said, how you're taking a concept of a film noir and putting it in 1990s LA, and not in the sense of a movie like Heat, where it's like a lot more gunfire. But I do love this sort of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead element of this movie, where with Walter and Dude, you have introductions of people like the Jesus, and I find it funny that to this day, John Turturro plays that role so well that to this day he will still you don't fuck with the Jesus, you know what I mean? And the fact is, I can't think of another character that has gotten so many people doing a joking quote of fucking 8-year-olds. Like the whole, this is a pedophile. Yeah. Like this guy's a pedophile. They utilized this as a joke in the 90s, and it still lands. That's the weird part.
So good. What? Like it, all of it just works so well.
What if I told you that a spin-off movie?
Oh yes, I thought about that. In fact, I think I've watched part.
It is
a while ago.
Not as good as Big Lebowski.
It's a little bit. Sadly, you can cut that out. But I don't necessarily. Yeah, it wasn't. I think I might have started it and then not watched the whole thing.
I came out like 3 years ago. It did not have any of the input from the Coens. It had no.
Yeah.
John Turturro basically took the character and he remade a French film as an American film, but with his character from Big Lebowski to Jesus now taking the place of another character from the original story.
Yes.
And he turned that into a spin-off. I think he directed it, if I'm not mistaken,
I
too.
feel like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. And then he followed it up with the Batman, so that was a total whiplash.
Yeah, very interesting.
Just talked about that.
Yeah, we just had another episode where we were talking about Batman. I was explaining John Turturro. I was saying it's crazy to me just to see how much range this guy has. And again, much like John Goodman, the Coen Brothers seem to know how to write John Turturro. He's in so many other films now. And this particular case, it's like he's got this suave kind of, sleazy level of movement happening within Coen Brothers, and just to see how stoic and he's Carmine Falcone of the Batman. So in that way, he's a lot more like villainous. It's like that sort of thing I just love, and I love how the Coen Brothers are taking these strengths of these actors and trying to apply them in. Like I can't help but imagine they must have had some of these people in mind when they wrote the script.
I feel like, I was listening to, the one who designed this, Mary Zoffreys, she's done a lot of the Coen Brothers films. I've listened to a lot of her stuff, and it's very interesting to hear what, kind of like pre-work was done. Like it sounds like the Coen Brothers, yes, often have people in mind for like who is going to play these characters, but the actors, it sounds like, also tend to be people that like, when you fit someone and they just like they just like come into character, so like
they start posing the same way.
Like they're really, really seem to be people that it's like you get into a fitting, they just like, it's like visual. I mean, everyone's kind of visual in this industry, but it's very like, you get them in, they see the stuff, they really get what
it helps them feel like they are now becoming character.
And so apparently many times too, when they've written scripts, it's been like they've kind of gone around everyone that's going to be on the show before it actually gets picked up. So there's often been like months before that they've kind of had like in preparation, it sounds like, from what I've listened to. So I think that's probably something too. Like, if you got contacted like 6 months before or whatever, the thing's actually going to start going. It's like, okay, you can really like,
and the costume definitely is safe too.
Yes.
So Jesus's costume, I love that he has 2 suits that are just different colors of the same thing, and he has his name embroidered in each outfit. It makes me think he has 7 of them in different colors for each day of the week.
The thing that's so good about it is not only like are the costumes for him and his like, bowling like team so on point. It's the fact that they're so on point that when you look at like the dude and their little team, it shows like how absolutely just like disorganized and like messed up they are. You know what I mean? Like it's like you've got Jesus with his like hairnet, and they're all got their matching shirts and like blah blah blah. Then he like shine over to like the dude and like Walter's in his like army stuff. The dude's got his like elasticated shorts on, and they're all just like. And Walter's airheads.
Walter's color is always like on point for like military standards.
Yeah,
like you can tell, like whoever did the finals on this show for on-set costumes is such a hero. Like they're so,
it's like perfectly imperfect. Like the perfect ones are perfect, and then the dudes like, I don't know. It's like to people that aren't in costume, it probably doesn't even sound like a big deal, you know what I mean? But it's like to have someone look disheveled but in a perfect way, like that there was so much thought that actually went into that.
Exactly.
Like it wasn't just like, oh, it's going to be disheveled, so we're just going to like leave them like that. Like there's definitely so much more to it. And it was shot on film. I'm pretty positive it was shot on film, which is like there's just less, like you have less chances, like you always have less chances generally, because like they can't just.
You have to get it right.
Like, you have to get it right like the first or second kind of time, especially since I think they were like indies too, technically. So they probably didn't have like crazy.
Big Lebowski had, I believe, universal backing for their budget. Well, you look at the cast, it's John Goodman, Jeff Bridges, Steve Buscemi.
Yes. But I don't, they definitely had backing, but I don't know so I guess they might have had the same.
Definitely has an indie appeal to it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm always interested when I see these movies. okay with the union. You know, why that even
Big Lebowski definitely is. I will guarantee you that, Alex. But I'm actually just looking this up now because now you got me wondering. And now I realize that I said 1996 earlier, and it's a 1998 movie.
Yeah, I thought that too.
No, not a great day for Kevin. Yeah. So the budget for Big Lebowski was $15 million. It wasn't an indie, but it was a nice mid-range budget for a movie like that. Bear in mind, at this time, they'd already done Fargo. They'd already done a fair number of movies, right?
But definitely had the preparation time. Well, that needed to like when a character walks on screen in that movie with the way they're dressed, I feel like they're entirely embodied by what their costume is. You know exactly who they are by walking. And as soon as they start talking, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. They're wearing that stupid hat.
Yes. No, it really makes sense. I mean, they had, and a lot of it was thrifted. I know most of the Dune stuff was thrifted, which I think would make sense.
Also, Jeff Bridges' personal wardrobe.
Yes. So he actually, I was so interested to see who came up with the jellies. You know, the jellies that is in the back. Like, that is just the epitome of greatness. And those were Jeff Bridges, actually. Apparently, those were his clear jellies that he had the idea to bring on. Like, isn't that just genius?
And his sweater was...
Yeah, I believe the sweater...
Yeah, one of the sweaters.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the other stuff, apparently, it was like Venice Beach and like West Side LA. Just like thrifting.
Well, you know, his kids did say that apparently when he got the script for Big Lebowski from his agent, his sons looked at the script and said, so did they like meet you ahead of time and write this character? And they're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, because it turns out Jeff Bridges is essentially the dude.
Yeah, yes, I kind of heard that. Apparently he was described in the script as, what was it, terminally chill or something? It was like, terminally chill or like terminally lazy. Like it was like something like that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so good. And they just, I guess they really got it.
Yeah, I gotta say, I worked at Cineplex about 13 years ago over on Burrard Street in Vancouver. And when the movie, when the Avengers came out, the first Avengers movie, we had this one screening there where they told us, okay, everyone has to be like extra careful because in this one theater currently we have two notable people seeing the movie. And we had one of them was Anthony Stewart Head from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, who was Giles from Buffy, and then 2 rows in front of him was Jeff Bridges, who he was in town shooting the Sun. And so we were the movie theater across the street from the Sun, so we often had celebrities. I'll tell you this, Jeff Bridges comes out, and of course, like when it comes to everybody wanting to clean the theater, like, oh, well, I'm going to make sure to clean theater too once it's over, because everyone wants to capture a glimpse of Bridges. So he ends up coming out, and after the movie finishes, he gets out of the theater. I got to tell you, man, if you were to tell me that he's dressed in character as the dude, I would have believed you. That was just him. He had the long hair going down. He had the big sweater vest thing going out like that, the loose fitting clothing, and that was just Sunday afternoon, Jeff Bridges seeing the movie. I was so stoked on this, actually.
That's pretty rad.
It's weird to bring that up as like a celebrity sighting when I've worked in film for like 13 years, but
it's just Jeff Bridges vibes.
Yeah,
dude about it.
Real dude. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Did you guys know that? Did you know there's a dude religion?
Kind of.
What is like an internet word? Whatever it was.
It is true. Dudism is an actual religion you can put down in your census, much like Jedi.
We shall take on that census.
Now we know what Victoria is doing next census.
So funny.
So, like, eventually in the future, when you get married, it's just a dude with long hair and a sweater vest being like, whatever, man, just like go get married.
Literally.
Go get married. Don't, do whatever you want, man. Make sure there's an open bar if you invite me, man.
Oh my God.
Be a White Russia or two.
Yeah, that was okay. So they actually, for the 25th anniversary, I think, of the Big Lebowski, they played it at the Rio a couple weeks ago, which I went to.
Hell yes.
So funny. Just like going back to like how it's such a cult classic and stuff. Literally, it was so funny. We like roll up and there's just like all these people in robes. Everyone just showed up in robes. I have like 3 White Russians. It was awesome. It was just awesome.
Oh God, I don't think I could do 3 White Russians. My stomach would handle that. I love a White Russian, 2 White Russians, and my stomach is starting to get a little.
Oh yeah, no, I was old. It was
Yeah.
great. It was great.
That's fantastic. You know, I mean,
We're embodying the
I was.
it's kind of crazy to think though. This movie came out in 1998 now, so we're looking at, I guess we're looking at 25 years. So 25 years now, and just what you just said, like this movie did not do well in theaters, but somehow, some way, it has been transgenerational. There are people in Gen Z right now doing like TikToks of Big Lebowski and stuff like that. You'll still see like our parents and our own generation love this movie, and for whatever reason, I've never met somebody who didn't like this movie.
It's actually the year I was born. Not like the other. Yeah. Congratulations. No worries. Thanks. You're the dude. I am the dude. No, but yeah, it's pretty funny.
It is pretty crazy, and it's like you look at the impact of some of these things, and it's, you know, if somebody would have said back then that this like little 2-hour movie about slacker Jeff Bridges smoking weed while trying to half-ass solve a case would end up being this like not just cult classic, but turn into this huge phenomenon, like way down the line. Like we said, you got religion of it now. You have these festivals of it now. They had, if I'm not mistaken, they had a ginormous Big Lebowski festival over in LA for the 20th anniversary. Before the pandemic, there was some sort of festival. It's like, you know, you don't see these happening for a lot of movies of that era. You don't see giant festivals for movies like Speed, which I love Speed. Don't get me wrong, but it's kind of gives you an idea of what's talked about. You don't have religions coming out about, you know, John Goodman on Roseanne, like. So it's kind of crazy to me because the Coens have done this a few times where they managed to just make these films that, even if they didn't in the first place capture the public conscious, they did at a point or another down the line. Even now, we have a lot of movies where there's people who'll argue that their best movie is The Hudsucker Proxy, which was like a movie that did not do well in theaters. Fantastic movie about the invention of the hula hoop. But now you have people sitting nowadays saying like, well, that was actually their best movie. It's like, that was a movie no one was talking about for 20 years.
Well, I mean, another thing too that I've thought of, especially in the past like 5 years, about the Big Lebowski is the way that it is so different from like our current, not just political climate, but like, you know, it's so relaxed. So the dude is so relaxed, like doesn't care, just, you know, like it's like chill. But, you know, like we have the pandemic, we have all this stuff with Russia, we have all this crazy political stuff, but like, so I can see why people are like gravitating towards something like that, because it's so just like.
Which is funny that it took place at a time where we were at war with us in America were at war with Iraq at the time, and there was a lot of conflicts. So it's interesting.
Yeah, like it's kind of like I can see how. I mean, obviously that's not the only reason it's so great. I can see how, like, especially, you know, people of my age and stuff in the past like 5, 6, 7 years would really gravitate towards something like that, because now it's becoming so, like, it's such a contrast to, like, what is happening for us right now, you know?
And almost films that went the other direction, where they always went more war propaganda and war is good, and you know, the glory of war. This feels like a realistic version of what it was like to live at that time, instead of the hyped up version that we sometimes see.
Well, it's kind of peppered into the movie. Like, you get elements of, like, it's not in your face, but the environment of the era definitely plays its part. Like, you have people saying things about Saddam that are very big on that era. And of course, we kind of had a second go of that in the Iraq War in the 2000s, which was just a pointless war. But with that though, like, you know, even his dream and his whole dream with the Kenny Rogers song just checked in. But even that, like, guy doing the shoes, it's Saddam Hussein. It's not because this guy's worried, but it's because this is the environment. You can't escape hearing about him. You can't escape that. So even in his fantasies, there's still that element there. That's why I always thought about the dude as like, this guy's like, you almost have to wonder if he's a pacifist as like a self-defense, as like a defensive maneuver kind of thing.
Yes, to like save himself
from the actual stress of it all, right? But by the way, I want to bring back up that moment, that sequence of just checked in. I love this sequence so much. It is so aesthetically pleasing the whole way through. That it's perfectly edited. It's like has this cabaret feel to it, but it's like, it feels like it's a weird dream, but it has kind of that Gold Diggers in 1933 kind of feel. I love that sequence so much. I remember the first time I saw it, I was just, again, it was like first time I saw it, it was the only part of the movie where I was like, oh, that was very amusing. It's like now seeing it now, being able to understand the bigger context of the movie, that scene is equally great, but for so many other reasons.
The first time I saw that, I had smoked some weed. Because, you know, as you do. So the first time I actually saw this movie was with one of my ex-boyfriends years ago, and he was like, you have to just get baked and watch The Big Lebowski. Like, that's just what you have to do. You just have to.
Yeah, and he made the right call.
Yeah, I can, you know, sure. And I remember this sequence, and I was just like, so, like, the costumes were so good. Like, everything was just so good. I literally was like, we have to pause this. Like, I can't deal with my brain now. Like, my brain is just, like, exploding. Like, yeah, it's so good. It's so good. The costumes are so good.
So one thing with the costume that I love about that scene is these kind of half-ass mixing two different kind of fantasies here. So he's, of course, loves bowling, is constantly bowling, got all the bowling stuff happening. The porno in his head is called gutter balls.
Yes.
Stuff like that. And what I love is that if you look at his outfit, because it's still supposed to be a porno, he's wearing like a bowling shirt version of the fucking handyman coming over.
Yes.
Like, it's inexplicable why he has this tool belt and all these tools. He's got a handyman version, but then it's got his name so like a bowling shirt, lines of bowling shirt.
It's so funny. Part of me wonders if it's like from like a reference to, you know, like the Beaver flick or whatever.
Well, I think it was. Absolutely.
Yeah, when,
I mean, right from the get-go, it's supposed to be
going to fix the yeah. So I love that. But I mean, the dancing sequence, like their costumes, so good. And it's funny. Apparently, they had tried to do it first with like fruit or something, but they couldn't get it to work. So then they actually changed to doing it like with the bowling kind of.
Really?
Yeah.
Why would they not stick with the bowling vibe in the first place?
It wasn't very elaborated. I don't know. I thought it was.
It's interesting to me that they wouldn't have gone with the bowling idea first.
I know. That's what I thought too. I was reading it and what? Like, why would that be?
Well, especially considering now the scene's over with. It's like, now the scene's done, and with the bowling, it's like one of the most iconic scenes. Probably the most iconic scene in the movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so good. I mean, the part too that I find, like, so you've got the bowling stuff. That makes sense. She's almost in Maud is almost in Gladiator.
In like the Amazonian, she's got a spear. Like, one thing I love about that though is, it's actually an internal thing to show that Lebowski's, like, Jeff Lebowski, the dude, and of course, maybe I'm pulling all this out of my ass. I don't know. I've watched the movie so many times, and this is like the first time I'm thinking about this. Is that when you're watching this is basically that little reassurance in your head that he actually respects everything she's saying.
Yes.
But he is now fantasizing about her. He's fantasizing about her the way she would want to be fantasized.
Yes.
And I think that's fascinating.
Yes. That's exactly what I was kind of thinking. It like shows really, you know, like using Maud, feminist, like very, you know, so like it makes sense.
Her outfit actually reminds me of one of the super old movie, Journey to the Moon. With
to the moon.
Trip to the moon with
the moon race.
Yeah.
Because
it's like the old, like, it's not even like the gladiatorial thing and all. It's like a gladiatorial in like a Brunhilde kind of way, where it's almost like an opera, Viking opera. It's not even just she's a gladiator. She's a theatrical gladiator, like a Shakespeare type put down in an old black and white film, as like, that's the vibe that it gives me.
Also, you just said beaver pitcher, and I just cannot get over how she uses that term in the movie. About the beaver pitcher. Beaver pitcher? What, you mean the porn flick?
I so love it. I know, it's so good. It's so good. Well, even the way she refers to money, like she won't just say like money. She's like
slabs, bones,
slab. Like, it's like, oh my god, it's funny. It's very funny. It really shows.
So it's about the crack of the jaw there, Lebowski. Please see my doctor. I'll show you. He's good. I'm thorough.
Yes.
I'm feeling all right, Ben. Please. I don't want to be responsible for any long delayed injuries. Please do see it. He's good. I'm thorough.
And then he, like, when he finally clues in at the end, when she's like literally in the like squatting position, like doing the yoga, and he's like, oh, so the doctor. It's like,
well, you know, she does it. And
it's just so funny. No comment here. Oh.
Well, that's the whole thing. He's just like, he just got told he doesn't have to raise the kid or anything. He's like, oh, all right.
It's so funny. Oh my god. Like the ultimate nod.
It's like, yeah, it's like your whole, like, how much will pass this guy? His whole freaking house is destroyed, and you just found out he's going to be a dad unknowingly. It's like,
I'll take another white Russian.
all right, cool.
Okay.
I still love it.
I know. It's so good.
I mean, even the end of the movie, though, it's like, even when you get to the end there and we've gotten to the Nihilists, only to find out the Nihilists really had no place in any of this plan whatsoever. They just tried
to take advantage of it.
Yeah, they just thought they can get involved and get to advantage. And just like, for all the talk that Walter does throughout the movie, it's honestly so cathartic to watch that he actually has the ability to back it up. When it's, with bowling ball, he takes out the first dude, bites the other guy's ear off, smokes the other one in the face with a fire extinguisher. Just that whole moment where you see, before he smokes the last dude with a fire extinguisher, just take the money, man. Just take the money. You want to go? No, just take the money. Like, trying to fight Lebowski and trying to ward him off with $17.
$17. So good. It's so good. And the part, oh my god, we didn't talk about the when he pulls out his
and go on
over the lines.
That's a world of pain.
I know.
A line he uses on the kid later on, by the way.
I know, yeah.
Are you out of Vietnam, Billy? You're about to enter a world of pain.
I know, like he's so like jaded. Like it really just shows how jaded, It's like it's a small really.
And you saw the kid's dad, and he's like this elaborate bird getting a scene.
The Iron Lung.
It's about the Iron Lung.
Yeah. And this guy's supposed to be like a writer branded for 130 episodes, which was a real show, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, it was an actual show. When I first, I actually had to look that up. I thought Branded was like a Bounty Law type situation from Westbound Town in Hollywood, or it was like these fake. Yeah. I had no idea. My millennial ass had no clue that was a show in the 1970s. Yeah. For any boomers listening, sorry. But what I loved about that scene is, so he freaks out over the line. If you actually pause the movie, he was over the line. His foot was a toe over the line. Walter was completely correct until he pulled the gun out.
Yeah. Well, the dude knows it too. He literally was like, "Oh, so what if his foot slipped?" Like,
yeah. There's some rules. It's a league game. You gotta follow the rules.
Yeah, like he's just like, the rules. This is not Vietnam. Like, on rules here. I'm gonna shut them something.
Yeah.
I know.
And everyone's heard it so many times that, like, here we go again. You can just see on their faces, they just completely disengage from the conversation. They're like, yep.
As soon as he starts talking,
The next time with Jesus, and then Jesus comes up. If I see you pull out your piece,
I will take the shut out of your hand and stick it up your ass and pull the trigger till it goes. Big girls, dude.
But I know, and like just the irony, Kate, so that it's like after that scene, so they go out to the car and the dude's giving Walter like at the chat, like, you can't do that, man, like you can't do that. Well, they get in the car, the cops pull up behind them to like go in and look for them, and they're just like so oblivious. They're just like in the car, let's go, whatever. So like they're just like completely missing. Like the cops are going in for them. They've already got out, but they have no urgency whatsoever. It's just like,
that's the thing he's saying too. He's like, he's a conscientious objector, man. He was a conscientious objector. Which, if a lot of people know, in the Vietnam era, a conscientious objector means that they were a draft dodger, which is the way that people said that to not call themselves a draft dodger. Yeah. So I love that as he's trying to explain to him. So not only that, Walter's got extra vitriol against Buddy, who he pulled the gun at, because he was a Vietnam vet versus a draft dodger. So it's just like, these are deep levels of like conflict that I think about when I see this movie, and like I didn't think about that until last night.
No, exactly. Like you think about the stuff, the more you watch it, you like pick up on these little pieces.
Yeah.
That, a lot of people either don't pick up on it. You take a couple.
Maybe it takes a few times to
pick up on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like at first you think which is where it goes back to like first you think you're watching something that's just pure like comedy, and then as you like continue watching it, it's like you pick up on little things that are like still funny, but funny in a way that like means more than just
something that feels bland. Like another show that's really good at that was Arrested Development, which I feel the Arrested Development has a very similar, especially the first few seasons, has a very similar comedy and dialogue structure as Big Lebowski. I can't help but feel that there was some influence from the Coen Brothers in that dialogue. But it's that sort of concept where it's like, you don't just have the joke. You don't have, the guy falling down is not the joke here. The guy falling down is a guy falling down, where the joke in the background is everything that happened from when he fell down.
Yes.
On top of that, this joke behind that, because You know what I mean? That's what I actually love about it. It's layered comedy, and maybe that's why this movie didn't click theatrically the first time around. Back in those days, those days only really being 5 years ago. If you're going to see a movie in the theater, you're paying to see it in the theater. You're not going to be able to see that movie at home for another 6 months. So if you don't like it the first time around, why are you going to go rent it?
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
There's also so many layers to digest as well.
Yeah.
The movie, and I think that gives it an insane rewatch value.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, it's not something that I think would be an immediate it makes sense that it's not an immediate success because it's so much to take in. You actually have to watch it many times to see all of these things.
No, it's so true. I mean, it's also like I've heard it described. I mean, this is kind of how I describe it. People describe it as satirical comedy.
It is.
I would totally go with that. But the other thing that's funny that totally backs this up is actually, so this past Christmas 2022, I made my whole family watch the Big Lebowski. Okay,
so you're a big fan. So this is twice in the last 5 months that you.
Yeah, I watched it all the time. All the time. We used to watch like the Polar Express when I was a kid with my family, and then we all kind of grew out of that. And I was like, hey.
You all realized how scary all those things looked in that movie.
So yeah, this year I was like, okay, like that's it. Like we're watching the Big Lebowski. My sister's never seen it. My dad hasn't seen it since it like came out. Probably, like we're gonna watch it.
Yeah.
And so it was like classic. Me and my mom, she's very similar to me. We're like loving it. It's great, of course. It's like my favorite movie. No one else got it. My sister was like, why do you like, that's not even that funny. Like, why do you like, and it's so just like yeah, it's like a layer thing. Like it's an easy watch kind of, but if you want to get everything out of it that there is to get out of it, it's not an easy watch. You have to think, you know what I mean?
It's easy in the sense that the pacing, I find, is a very breezy pacing.
Yes.
The movie never slows down and never really speeds up either. It just kind of stays at this nice, like, it drives at 60 kilometers an hour consistently throughout the whole movie. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a movie you could easily just throw on in the background. The dialogue, for me, at this point would make me laugh my ass off watching it. But you are right. Like, it's so crazy because it is a very rewatchable movie. You are right. I mean, that must be the reason why this movie became the hit it was through home video rentals.
Yes. Well, and I can see, so I remember her kind of commenting, like, she was just like, well, I don't get it. Like, I just don't get it. And I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? She's like, no, I just don't get it. And then I'm like thinking about it, and it's like, hey, she just didn't get it. And I'm like, hey, I guess if you really watched it, only expecting it to be like surface funny, no thoughts, nothing, I can see how you could watch it and just be like what just transpired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was kind of, I don't know.
You kind of have to go into it with an open mind and just be open to be like, I'm watching this movie for whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I don't know. That was kind of funny too, just to see that.
It is interesting because, like, and what I find kind of interesting is that everybody seems to have a different part of this movie that they love. My mom, her favorite line in this movie is not any of the ones that you would expect. Her favorite moment in this movie, favorite joke, is when the Big Lebowski's guy is grabbing him from the one limo and putting him in the other limo. And he goes, hey, man, I'm holding the bed with you. Just that one line. My mom laughs her ass off every time she hears that. And it's like, but it's fascinating because, like, I like it. It's a funny line, but I wouldn't even put it in the top 20 in the movie.
But that's one of those lines that's a bit like it's a bit film noir referenced. Like it's very, I don't know, a bit cheeky. The one my favorite is oh my god, I might like butcher it, but it's the one where they're talking about the beaver flick and Maud's showing him that he's and she's like, oh, you can guess what happens next, and he's like, oh, he fixes the cable.
That was like such a great throwaway line.
Like it's so good, just like the little pieces like that. But like, see that, like that sign, my sister just wouldn't. I didn't be like, sorry, Grace, I love you. You know what I mean? Like.
I love when Maud is showing the beaver picture. I'm going to keep calling it that. I love when Maud is showing the beaver picture at first, and she's just like commentating on it as it goes, as if it's like this should be an art film of some sort. Because she was, I'll put on. I didn't see. It's very lackluster lighting, and the story is very weak, and it's just like.
It's like, so that's where I'm with it.
You're talking about the story and the lighting and the acting. It's fucking terrible.
I can't see what Maud wanted was this for the beaver flick to be a Just Barred No Way.
Oh man, he's watching it right now. One thing I just really love about this movie that I feel the Coens. I'm talking about the Coens as a whole quite a bit here because this movie is very representative of a lot of what they did throughout the 90s and early 2000s. There's a reason why Coen Brothers scripts don't tend to usually do well when somebody else directs them.
Mm-hmm.
But when Coens direct their own scripts, they're fantastic, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason why is exactly what we're talking about. Is so much of the humor is not going to be in the dialogue. So much of it is how they're going to be putting it forward, what happens around it, the environment around it. Like one of my favorite funny moments in this movie has very little dialogue in it. It's just and it all comes down to the framing of how to do this. Where you got the dude inside Maud's place, so you got the one guy with the newspaper and like the John Waters mustache. He's like just like giggling, and just that shot of just him standing like looking at the guy giggling, and the way they framed it and everything is just freaking hilarious. Just where he's like, "Who the fuck is this guy, man?"
Literally, it's so good.
And I love that. But how do you get that across in a script, right? A script's gonna just read, and then he sits next to this weird dude looking like John Waters, and he says, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Like, it could. Anybody reads that script nowadays, they're going, okay, cut that line, cut that line, cut that line. You know what I mean? But that kind of goes to show what happens when directors like these guys. And I'm actually very upset that they've split up as directors now.
Yeah,
I heard that.
Yeah,
Joel Coen has 2 movies he's done now, but Ethan Coen actually has his first solo directorial coming out. And the trailer looks excellent, and it looks nothing like the Coen Brothers movie.
Did you
The
see
dialogue is there though.
Yeah, totally.
the one? I haven't seen this yet, but I've been like dying to watch it. The
The Tragedy of Macbeth, that was Joel Coen.
That yes,
Yeah.
that was Jules.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
And it's,
I've heard from a lot of people that it's absolutely fantastic.
yeah.
I mean, I expected that,
But here's where I find it interesting. The dialogue and the writing is a little bit different. I think we're now seeing, it'll be interesting to see the next few movies that they make separately because they've been a unit for 30 years. And so we're now going to start seeing, for lack of better words, who brought what to the table.
yes.
And currently what I'm noticing is that the dialogue in Tragedy of Macbeth with Joel Coen's work is it's fantastic, but it's very different than what we've heard. A lot more natural, a lot more theatrical in some ways. Those are 2 opposite words, but meanwhile, the new Ethan Coen flick that's coming out right now that he directed and wrote, the dialogue from, it's called Drive Away Dolls, by the way. It's the trailer's out for it. It looks excellent, but the dialogue is absolutely Coen Brothers on point, but it looks nothing like Coen Brothers.
It gave me a very Edgar Wright vibe with the way it really got together for the trailer. It was
Yeah,
a lot more like modern,
yeah.
if that makes sense.
No, I agree completely. I will say though that that's actually our time, and yeah, it was wonderful talking about this movie. I love Big Lebowski. I was so great to be able to dive back into it.
Yes, fantastic. Loved talking to it about it. Like-minded people. Like you guys.
If anybody wants to, you can buy a Blu-ray of the Big Lebowski in our link descriptions, as well as Prime Video rentals. Thank you very much.
We will link Victoria's Instagram and any socials for your fashion work, for any film work, please.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Troy, thank you very much for coming here.
Yes, thank you.